Getting things ready. I do not know how to say your name, but thank you for joining. Um, I couldn't even guess what the closest way to say that is. That, thank you for showing up. DDT253, thank you for being here. Off, hello, how are you? Hello, hello. I hope you're doing well today. I hope everything is going super well in your relationship and everything else going on in your wonderful world. I hope you're feeling better than you at least appeared to feel last night. Um, but I also do very much appreciate you keeping the conversation going. Sometimes the toughest thing in here is to get people to talk about this stuff. So, anywho, thank you very much. My name is Josh. I was a porn addict for 24 years. I was a alcoholic for 22 years. So 24 years as a porn addict, 22 years as an alcoholic. I have thankfully been clean and sober for the last 10 and a half years. I have been relapse free the entire time. I am currently a full-time certified pornography addiction coach. And I also am a certified betrayal trauma coach and a certified therapeutic disclosure specialist. So if you have any questions in these areas, whether it's porn addiction, betrayal trauma, addiction in general, trauma in general, I am more than happy to answer your questions. Hey man, you period man, wanted to let you know I am another soul you have helped. Well, fantastic. Provide some gifts. No, I'm just kidding. I'm glad I could help you. I'm really, really glad I could help you. DDT, what's up, boss man? What is up, DDTT? I hope that you're doing well today. Gonna ask those of you who are here right now, since we're just in the first 3 minutes of this, can you tap up some likes for me? Just hit the screen in case you don't know how to give likes. You just tap the screen rapidly. What that's gonna do is it tells TikTok to put us in the algorithm of popular videos. So it shows up in people's FYPs, it shows up in people's suggested lives. You never know who's going to need this information. So the more people we can offer it to, the more people can make a decision. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Oth says, thank you. Yeah, a bit of a rough one last night, better today. That is fantastic. Sometimes time passing is the best thing. No, it absolutely is. I can tell you that with my bipolar disorder, if I'm swinging towards the negative and something not cool happens in my day, that I basically have to pack it up for the day. I have to pack it up for the day and say, I hope tomorrow is better. So time passing is absolutely, I think, a great tool for people to use to heal. They say time heals all wounds. I very much disagree with that, but time does help in processing. So I'm glad to hear you're feeling better today. And again, hi, period. Nice to see you. I am glad that I helped you. I hope that you have been able to feel a different side of life. I hope that you have begun to understand that thing you thought that you needed so much, you don't need. And that's the part that blows my mind. I remember the very early first few days of getting into recovery, and they were like, you are not going to be able to have pornography in your life. You're also not going to be able to have alcohol in your life. And I'm like, the two things that I have counted on to maintain my happiness, to pull me out of funks, to get me through things, whether I'm in middle school or high school or I have a job or I'm married or whatever, how the hell am I going to live without this stuff? How the hell am I going to live without this stuff? And it turns out once you get to the other side, it's even better. It's even better. Thank you guys for tapping up those likes. I appreciate that. Don't feel the need to stop. If you're not following me, please do. If I say something really brilliant, go ahead and share it. I'm going to be honest, I spoke to him and that made me feel much, much worse. Oh no. Was that because you got bad answers, or was it just causing butterflies in your stomach? It made you feel bad even questioning him. I'm curious what you felt there. B with, is that the Puerto Rican flag? I don't want to say something, be wrong about that, but you're laughing at something. I'm glad you find this entertaining. Fat ass, what do I think of the Soviet Union? I think that we may be headed back towards those days if we're not careful. But honestly, with the crash of communism as we knew it with the Soviet Union, with the wall in Berlin, I was just a little too young to truly appreciate that whole era of the world. So I don't have strong feelings about the Soviet Union. But thank you for asking, Fat. Nobody has ever asked me about that. Off says nothing about the present, but I feel like I'm learning all the time that our relationship was worse than I even thought before. Okay, let's talk about this for a sec. You were you deceived by him, or were you deceived by what you wanted to be? And that's an important thing to take a difference of. As a little girl, you may have thought that you would end up with Prince Charming and you'd ride away on your horse and everything would be wonderful. I mean, not literally, but you thought you'd have a very different picture of what you actually have. And now you've got this guy. And it sounds like things are better in the present, like you just said. Things are okay in the present. You're learning that your relationship was worse than it was before, so you're not there anymore. You can let the past bring you down when he was ill with his addiction, when he was, not trying to help himself, when he was in service to that addiction, when he had other issues going on. And are you comparing what you thought your relationship is now? Or I'm sorry, are you comparing your relationship back then to now? Or are you comparing it to that fantasy you had when you were a kid of whatever you thought marriage was supposed to be, or what you thought relationships were supposed to be? I mean, short of him not breaking the law when he was younger, when he first got with you, it sounds like it's been improvement the entire way. So are you mourning the off of a few years ago who was lied to, who, I don't want to say got suckered in, but are you seeing it through her eyes? Are you seeing it through the old Oth's eyes? And you're like, how could I be so stupid? And you're feeling that stupidity. You are feeling that vulnerability because you were easily lied to today. It's a lot to unpack. And I'm not saying any of it is right. I'm not saying any of it is wrong. Your feelings are legit. Your feelings are absolutely valuable. And your feelings, there's no wrong to them, but you have to be able to sort of pull them apart and take a look at them. Bro, it's an endless cycle, says as a junior. I could say everything else, but I won't. It is an endless cycle. That's what addiction is. It sucks you in. There is a habit cycle. There is a habit cycle, which is when you get triggered, so you perform an action, or you have a recognition, then you perform an action, and then you get a reward. And it goes all over again and again. This is the basic, and then you get a reward. And it goes all over again and again. This is the basic tenet of incentive. We all only act on incentive in life. And I do believe this. We only act on motivation. And we only develop our habits because there is a reward at the end. I'm going to wake up in the morning. Well, I'd rather sleep, but you have to be at work at 9. And if you want to pay your bills, you better be at work. So even though you would rather be in bed, your incentive to get out is to go make money. And a lot of people look at the work week as an endless cycle because that's what habits are. They are an endless cycle until you stop yourself in your tracks and decide, I'm going to change a habit. After work now, I'm going to go to the gym every day. Now, it's not, your body's not going to want to go to the gym for several weeks naturally. First few days are going to be rough. You're going to have to force yourself. You're going to be looking for excuses to not go. But then, after about 3 weeks, after about 4 weeks, your body's used to it. Your body wants to. Your body gets something out of it every day. It's not as hard. It's not as strenuous. It doesn't feel like you're sacrificing other things that you could be doing. You got into the habit of going to the gym. You can change your habits. That's true for anything, including pornography. If you want to read a great book on habits, it's not necessarily about addiction, but it's about habits. It's called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, one of my favorite books of all time. Drink Beef asks, what constitutes addiction? Well, that's one of those things that there is no blood test for because, it's not a cellular condition, or maybe it technically is, but we don't have a test for it. Addiction is a diagnosis. Addiction is a label that is put on a group of symptoms. So if you have the, X amount of symptoms, according to an expert or a group of experts, then you have that diagnosis, and then you can go with whatever treatments historically work. If you are wondering, Drink Beef, if you are a pornography addict, what I'd urge you to do is go to the front page of my profile and look at the video pinned at the top that says the 11 symptoms of porn addiction, or corn, because that's what we have to call it here. But check that out, follow along, and you will be able to score for yourself whether you're an addict or not. Decide for yourself whether you're an addict or not. But then the most important thing, decide if you're going to do anything about it, because, you can't unring the bell of knowing you're an addict. And then you have to live with it. And many have to do something about it. So ask yourself if you can. Oth says, just that it's so much farther than what I thought we had than I could have ever imagined. And he did a good job hiding it from you. And you can say this is because he's deceitful, he's super deceitful, and he didn't want you to know. Or looking back now that he's getting better, now that he's getting healthier, you can say maybe he was trying to protect you. Obviously trying to protect himself, but he was a sick guy who didn't want to hurt you. Now, that didn't give him any excuse to do what he did, and he certainly deserves credit for trying to fix this problem. And you are valid to have the belief that you did, but that was the past, and you can mourn the past, and you can even mourn or feel bad for that version of Oth who was kind of a babe in the woods and had no idea what was going on. I absolutely think you can mourn that girl. Her ignorance was probably bliss in most cases, it sounds like. But just don't lose sight that things are much better today. Don't lose sight that things are much better today. He has a different way of making decisions. He has a different way of reaching conclusions. I think that just keep that in mind. Big Blue Dog 6 Bra. That is a interesting screen name. Glad you're here, Big Blue Dog 6 Bra. I be chilling until I wake up from sleeping. How do I deal with that? Does I be chilling mean you be using pornography until you wake up from sleeping? Because or you're just laying in bed, reading, playing with your phone. If you wake up and you're doing something in your bed you don't want to be doing, get out of bed. Like when I wake up, I feel strong urges. Okay, well, get out of bed. Don't hang. If you end up touching yourself in bed, get out of bed first thing. Get out of bed first thing. If you end up, getting up and then going and touching yourself in the shower, take a shower the night before so you're not doing it. Or wake up fully. When you wake up, leave your room. Go eat breakfast immediately. I don't know if you live with anybody. Go hang out with them. Nothing's gonna kill your horny sense than having to talk to somebody when you're half asleep in the morning. That is just not a sexy time for any of us. And it makes sense. You're at the end of your sleep cycle. You're probably one of those who, hits your deep REM sleep at the end. That is when people tend to have their sexier dreams. That is when people tend to be most relaxed, which allows for, that kind of, thing to happen. But what you got to do is get mowing. Get mowing. Wow. Get moving. You don't need to just lay there and let the feeling wash over you or fight it. Get out of bed. Get out of bed. I hope that helps. Sticks 1 week clean. Excellent. There's a pure leaf iced tea. Hey, has anybody ever noticed that? I mean, this is probably the best iced tea on the market, but they fill it up too high. 4 out of 5 times I open this, I'm spilling it. Anyway, that's just my PSA. 1 week clean, really proud of you, Sticks. You hang out here a lot. I'm always glad to see your progress. You did another week. You did a week, so you know you can do it. Tomorrow, it's not this great big hill of, I've got to go to 2 weeks. It's not this great big hill of, oh my goodness, I absolutely, now I'm going to be in double digits. Nope, just take it day by day, day by day. You only have today, you know that. So just work on today. Zephyrx 05, ADHD gratification demands it never got that from my parents. Yeah, that's a good story, but it's something that you can control. About half of people who are addicts have some kind of condition like ADHD, ADD, Asperger's, bipolar disorder. A lot of people have this, about half of people who are addicts. It doesn't give you a green light to keep going. If anything, you have to work harder. If anything, you need more tools. But you absolutely cannot blame your ADHD on addictive behavior or your addictive behavior on ADHD. Hope I said that the right way. And I'm sorry you didn't get gratification or attention from your parents. That sucks. No child deserves that. But your ADHD and being neglected by your parents are two different things. Maybe they were, maybe your parents would see it as we gave you the same attention we'd give any kid, but you needed more because of your ADHD. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know based on one sentence, but please do not use your ADHD as an excuse because that's just a story you're telling yourself. There are plenty of people in this world who have kicked their habits having one of those conditions. I know that because I've got bipolar disorder and I quit pornography and I quit alcoholism. 2 days clean. Congratulations, Anonymous. Congratulations. A lot of people might look at that and go, 2 days, who cares? For those of us who have had the addiction, 48 hours can feel like a freaking lifetime. I understand that. It can feel like a freaking lifetime. So good on you. Tomorrow, thank God you got through 2 days. It's on to day 3. It's on to day 3. Braulio, 23. He's a good coach. Thank you, sir. I went to you one time. Well, I wish you would have gone to me more than one time. But I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for coming on here and letting people know you've come to me. I appreciate that. I appreciate we get people in here who have come see me. Now, I recognize my very common regulars who I see every week or every other week, and obviously I don't highlight the fact that they're here. I let them do that if they want to, and I always appreciate a positive testimonial. So thank you, Braulio. Essential AAF, he's a AFF. He's a really good coach. I appreciate that. Thank you. I hope you can see that based on what I do here, even if you haven't ended up in a session with me. And if you do want to end up in a session with me, all you have to do is go to the front page of my profile, look up in the bio, and there is a link that says Calendly there. Click on it. It'll take you to the information you need to book a session with me. About a third the price of a traditional therapist, and you can book as soon as tomorrow. So give that a consideration. And I appreciate you saying I am a really good coach. That does mean a lot to me. Thank you very, very much. And Braulio, thank you for following me. I appreciate that too. You'll now get more of my videos. You'll now get more an alert when I am actually going live. And all I would ask you and everybody who is already following me, if you see my videos, please hit a like, hit a heart. It helps. It helps people see my older stuff too. And as many of you know, I do get the bulk of my clients from TikTok, whether it's these lives or the videos. So anything you can do to help a guy out who's trying to help the rest of the world out, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Please keep tapping up those likes. Please keep tapping up those likes. We're only at 1.5 thousand now. I think we got 1.3 thousand in the first 3 minutes, and it's probably been 30 minutes since then. So if you don't mind, tappity tap, 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 tappity tap, 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 tap. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate that very much. Let me get a sip. Hi, John. Glad you're here. Good to see you. Good to see you. And thank you for those of you who are tapping up those likes. I appreciate it very, very much. So, what do you want to talk about? Joseph says, it's very hard for me to shake the idea that I am not good enough, unworthy of love. That's because somebody told you you were when you were young, or somebody made you feel like you were and you reached that conclusion on your own. Now, the question is, who was it? It could have been a group. It could have been, a group of kids at school. It could have been your cousins. It could have been your mom or your dad. It could have been, you heard, if you are a Jewish Eskimo and you were watching a show that says all Jewish Eskimos are pieces of crap and you're little, you might start internalizing that you're a piece of crap. But here's the thing, that is completely an opinion that you're not good enough or unworthy of love. That's an opinion. There's probably, people out there who absolutely agree with you that they are not good enough, that they are not unworthy of love. There are probably people out there who are like, I am awesome. I am totally worthy of love, who maybe aren't as worthy as they scream about. Or people who think they're awesome and people who think they're not good enough live the exact same life. It's all perspective. Not good enough for what? Unworthy of what kind of love? The big thing, and I've told you this before, you have to be able to love yourself. You have to be able to stand your own company. That's one of the reasons I always tell people with this addiction, go be around others. Go be around others. Because when you think you're unworthy of love, when you think you're not good enough, you're going to isolate. And when you isolate, good things don't happen. When you isolate and you're not feeling good, good things will not happen. M says, I've been clean for 3 days. Congratulations, M. You got through the weekend. That's not easy. That's not easy. It's funny because I saw a statistic recently Now, I knew this, and I've known this for years, that pornography addicts' use goes up on the weekends. If you're a pornography addict, you're likely to use, or you're likely to use more, or you're likely to use for a longer duration if it is the weekend. Why is this? Why does an addict not use, or why does an addict use more on the weekend? Because their routine is thrown off. Because they don't recognize the day-to-day activity they're familiar with. They don't have to wake up at the same time. And this is assuming that, they have time off on Saturday, Sunday. It's because there's no routine. Everything is so different. So they need their, hey, Jet, thank you for the heart. I always appreciate it when you give me a badge, when you give me a gift. Those do help in the long run. Anyway, Jesus, I just lost where I was at. Screw you, Jet. You made me lose my place. Somebody want to tell me what I was talking about? It's embarrassing. What was I talking about? Come on, somebody. Help the old man. Well, I'll go on to Robert's comment while somebody hopefully reminds me what the hell I was saying. Flashing lights, GIFs. Anyway, I've been addicted to corn for about 3 years, and that is 3 years since I've known about corn being an addiction. Tell myself the Monday thing. Yeah, okay. Lots of routine weekend. Thank you, Em. And I'll fold this into what you say, Robert. I always tell myself I'm going to quit Monday, and it never seems to happen because Monday is when you have your routine start again. If you are somebody who has an addiction, you should stop on those non-routine days. You can fill your non-routine days with other activities. 2 non-routine days make things easier. Because you don't, I wake up, I take a shower, I eat breakfast, I get in the car, I go to work, I make my coffee, I sit at my desk, and I do that Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. Yeah, but Saturday, what are you going to do? I don't know. Well, great. Don't use. You use after work every day. You use before bed during the weekdays. So instead of saying you're going to quit on Monday because that's back to the grind, try quitting on a day that is not part of your routine. I'm sure it must be easier to not use on Christmas or not use on a day that you go out on your friend's speedboat or when you're on a vacation with somebody. So, yeah, addicts use the most on the weekends. You know who uses less on weekends? Non-addicts. I was reading an article from the analytics of one of the largest adult porn sites, and it talked about how Saturday is its slowest day of the week. Despite the fact there's no school, despite the fact that far fewer people are working, they're doing other things because they're not in their routine. Which is funny because healthy people out of their routine, less use. Unhealthy people out of their routine, more use. There's a big way to tell the difference between an addict and not an addict. So thank you for reminding me that, and I'm glad I got to finish that wonderful summation. Thank you. Robert says, another good question. Why am I too shy or afraid to tell my therapist about my addiction? I have told, and I'm guessing you wrote something else and it didn't come through, or you're still writing it. That's not the right therapist for you, I'll say. That's not the right therapist for you. I have a wonderful therapist I've been going to for basically since, I don't think, after you said I have told, nothing was sent, Robert. You said, afraid to tell my therapist about my addiction, I have told, and something you put, got it blocked. I've been with my therapist now for going back to the week that I decided to quit. I knew that one of the important things I was going to need was a therapist. I also had 2 coaches along the way. And I have had 4 therapists in my life. She's the only one I've told the 100% truth to, because I'm finally ready to face my truth. I don't know if we want to present a healthier version of ourselves to our therapist, but I sometimes think, and I'm going back to when I was in my early 20s and I was in therapy then, I almost think of it as, if I don't talk about this with you, will you be able to tell I have it? I never did that with my therapist. I never told them about, my heavy use of porn. I didn't want to talk about porn. That was embarrassing, especially with somebody who already knew so much about me. And it was, yeah, and we didn't, obviously we're talking now 20, 25 years ago, so we weren't talking about this stuff back then. But yeah, I can understand that. I feel comfortable with the therapist I have now, but this is also the only therapist I've ever had when I've been in recovery. And, I think that anybody who has had me as a coach, can tell you, this is who I am in real life. This is who I am on interviews. I don't go around trying to pretend to be somebody different now. And until you can do that, or until you get comfortable with somebody who you can talk to about it, it's going to be an issue that you need to deal with. And this may not be the right therapy. You've known this therapist since you've been a teenager. If you have a great relationship, keep going. If you think you've reached the end of the road and need to go on to someone else, that happens in life. When I'll have clients who see me, even though we take care of the porn or we take care of the betrayal, they'll see me for 1.5 years, 2 years. And then they'll talk to me and say, I think I'm ready to stop this for a while. Or, I want to try just reading about this for a while. Or I'm going to try going to somebody else for a while to get a different perspective. Maybe it'll help. Yeah, do that. Do that 100%. This is your mental health. You should have a team of people helping with you. Anyway, where do you get your coaching? Well, anybody can get my coaching, Robert. If you go to the front page of my profile, in the bio, you will see I think you just click up there on my name. It will bring you to my front page. Up in the bio, there's a link that says Calendly. Click on that and then click on First Time Client. It'll tell you everything you need to know. And I do look forward to talking to you. Right now, I appreciate your advice. I really do. I'd love to get your coaching, really stop this horrible addiction that's been weighing on me for years. Well, what we would do, Robert, while I have, a lot of different techniques, we talk about, your situation, and then I'd give you some techniques or some tools that are pertinent to your situation. And then we would start to talk about, why did you end up as an addict? That's what the biggest part of this is. And God bless therapists. God bless marriage counselors. God bless, drug addiction counselors. God bless all of those people. But they do not probably have the tools to handle pornography addiction at the way that you need it. I certainly can't talk to you about your autism. I certainly can't tell you about how to raise your kids. I certainly can't tell you, about how to balance your budget with your wife or your husband. I can't tell you how to do a lot of stuff in this world, but I do know what I know, both as somebody who has been there and as somebody who has studied this stuff. You've got to use the resources you have at hand. So hopefully, Robert, I'll be able to see you in one of my sessions very, very soon. I will tell you that we will probably Sorry. I screwed. Sorry. It's my fault. Sorry. I was trying to get comfortable and I kicked a wire and bad Josh. I'm sorry. Well, this is how it's going to go right now. If you don't like this, sorry. I'm only going to be here another 20 or 30 minutes anyway. So Robert, yeah, I really hope that I can see you soon. And, a lot of people, probably 80% of my clients meet me through these lives or meet me through my videos. And some of their lives are forever changed because of it. HMM Kurt. Kurt? I'm making so much progress. I'm proud of myself. That's fantastic. And I'm glad you're making the progress, but I'm really glad to hear you're proud of yourself. More people need to do that in recovery. I love it when people tell me they're at 3 days or they're at 6 days or they're at 9 days, whatever it is. That I don't really care about streaks as much as I care about just being clean today. But to hear that you're proud of yourself, I like that. We need to take time to give ourselves our flowers, to give ourselves a pat on the back. Even if, you were to sit down next to somebody in school or sit down next to somebody at work and say to them, I haven't used porn in 5 days. And they were like, I haven't used porn in, 3 months. Well, if they don't have a problem, they don't get what those 5 days mean. But you do. I'm proud of you, and I'm glad you're proud of you. I'm really happy to hear that, Kurt. All right, going to reintroduce myself real fast because I'm seeing some new names in here. Maybe you don't know who I am or what I do. My name is Josh. I was a porn addict 24 years. I was an alcoholic 22 years. I have been clean and sober now for 10 and a half years. I have been relapse-free the entire time. I entered this space, so to speak, about 8 years ago. I was first an author, wrote 4 books about porn addiction and betrayal trauma. I was a public speaker. I've given 1 million interviews, TED Talk, all that happy stuff. But for about 4.5 years now, I have been a full-time pornography addiction coach, a full-time betrayal trauma coach, and a therapeutic disclosure specialist. And it turns out this is what I do best. This is what I love the most. It only took me nearly 45 years to figure it out. But hey, I finally found the job I love. Robert says, question about coaching. I'm going to set an appointment Tuesday morning for Tuesday evening. Send payment on Zelle with my phone number, or do I get a Zoom call or meeting? Okay, great questions. Here's some mechanical stuff here. You will set the appointment with me. In the notes on the appointment, it tells you how to pay me. You can pick any of those 3 ways, Zelle, PayPal, or Venmo. You pay with that according to what the email says or what the instructions on booking say. And then you hit book and you hit book the session, and you can pay right after you hit book, whatever you want to do. You book the session, and then it tells me that in my schedule, I've got that session. It sends you an email saying you've got this session, and in the email is a link to a Zoom call that we'll be doing. We do this face-to-face through Zoom. I got to get myself a new cam. My cam broke last week, so I'm using the crappy iMac one. Set the appointment Tuesday morning. That's cool. I know I have a couple sessions Tuesday, but I'm not sure what time exactly. So, I can't tell you what's open. This is one of those healthcare things where probably about 70% of my clients book the same week. A lot of them book within 24 hours. So I may only have 8 or 9 sessions booked for the week right now, but I know that at the end of the week, it's going to be 20, 25. Book, I would say book as soon as you can. If you want to book and then pay on Tuesday, book tonight and then pay on Tuesday, that's fine. You just have to pay before the session. So I would say go ahead and book, and then pay before we meet on Tuesday night. That way, nobody takes your time on Tuesday night. Joseph says, even though this was a setback for me, I feel like I learned more things about myself. Good. Good. And I'm not going to ask you to fill this. I'm not going to ask you to, answer all these questions here. But how are you going to apply what you've learned? That's the key. Let's look at, and I know that, what happened this week wasn't a true relapse, but you had a rough week. So how do we spot those rough weeks coming? How do we stave off those rough weeks? What happens when they hit? Did you see this rough week coming, or did you not see this rough week coming? Do you know why it was a rough week? It was a rough week for pornography, but was it a rough week in real life? These are all things you need to really take a look at and figure out, what did you learn? Did you learn that you can't stay up to 3 a.m. 2 nights a week, or your body clock is screwed the rest of the week and you're pissed off? Did you, get, did you have plans fall through 3 times? Not necessarily with a woman, but did you have plans fall through 3 times, and that just, made the chatter in your head go to an unhappy place? Robert said, thank you for answering my questions. Excited to talk to you Tuesday evening. You too, Robert. Have a great rest of your night. To everyone else, stay strong, seek help. Don't seep, seek help. Thank you, Robert. That's all. That's very kind of you to wish everybody. I think you're following me. I look forward to talking to you in 48 hours or so. Yeah, absolutely, Joseph. I'm glad that you learned. That's a huge key, but it's a lot like learning when I tell people to go to that video on my front page, that little quiz on whether you're an addict or not. It's not that it's great to get the knowledge. It's great you have the knowledge that it was a rough week. It's great that you have a knowledge that this was a setback. And it's great that you learned something, much like the people who take that little quiz and learn something. The question then becomes, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? I'm sure somewhere out there must be, I'm sure there's not for pornography, but I bet for alcohol, I bet for cigarettes, maybe some other addictions. I'd love to see what percentage of people try to quit at one point versus the amount of people who are actually successful quitting. I've never seen that. And really what we have to do is study and understand the patterns of those who were successful. And I guarantee you one of the things that doesn't matter even what the addiction is, those people who want to do it their way are bound to failure. You guys ever, it hasn't been on the air a few years, I know, but I also know that a lot of those streaming services have dedicated channels to the show Kitchen Nightmares, where whether it's the UK version or the US version, where Gordon Ramsay goes into a restaurant and helps fix the problems. They're not making much money. People aren't coming in. There's infighting, blah, 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 blah. And the US version is much more about the relationships of the people who work there, where the UK version, which I prefer, is much about the business side of things. But either way, what often makes a place successful versus not successful in the long run is if the owner is willing to give up a little power and learn some new ways to do things. When they're not, it's like Gordon Ramsay never showed up. Gordon Ramsay might make changes and they change it all back. Or Gordon Ramsay, might try to make changes and the person doesn't even accept them because they don't want to have a successful restaurant. They want to have the validation that they created a successful restaurant all by themselves. And I think there's a lot of people out there who want, well, I got myself into this addiction. I can get myself out of it. And that's just not the case. You know, I have people talk to me a lot who are like, yeah, I don't want to talk about the trauma part. Tough shit. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about my childhood. Tough shit. If you want to improve, and you could have done it on your own, you would have. There are plenty of restaurateurs out there who didn't need Gordon Ramsay to be successful. There's plenty of people out there who can look at porn, put it down, and not have an addiction. They don't need somebody like me. They don't need somebody like a therapist or a 12-step group. What they need is to step away from their ego. Step away from your fear of not being right, of your fear of not being in control, of your fear of not having the power to decide everything. Clearly, up to this point, you haven't been deciding everything correctly. Maybe it's time to open up your mind a little and get some help from some other people. There are a lot of times where, you know, a guy shows, and this is kind of the same story every time, a guy between 35 and 45, let's say, maybe 50, but 35 to 50, shows up at one of my sessions, and I can tell within 10 minutes he doesn't care what I have to say. He doesn't want to hear it. He doesn't want to hear pornography is an addiction. He doesn't want to talk about himself. He gives 1 or 2 word answers. He's not sorry he used. He's sorry he got caught. He doesn't want to hear from me how not to use. He doesn't want to hear from me how to get better. He doesn't want to hear from me things he should say or do with his wife or girlfriend to make things better. He wants to live life his exact way. Even if it's been, at least in the pornography department, a failure to this point. So anyway, hey Jimbo, I'm sorry I left you a while there. I'm sorry I left you a while. How can I stop? Well, the number one thing you have to do, and it's interesting, I haven't answered this yet, so you know everybody listening can hear it. The number one thing you have to do, Kevin, no. I think I just answered that. Maybe you just showed up, but no, you cannot do it yourself. If you could, you already would have. Anyway, how can you stop? Before you get a single tool, before you learn a single technique, before you start, planning for your urges, what you have to do is figure out, why are you quitting? Why is this important? How important is this to you? Because this isn't easy. And it's because it's not just quitting the behavior. If you just quit the behavior, but you don't do the deeper work, the behavior is going to come back. You have to be able to do the deeper work of figuring out, why was I a porn addict? How did I get to be this person? How did my fears in life control me? Why am I still using, or why did I still use up until recently? These are scary questions to answer. And if you've not talked about this stuff with people before, it's daunting. I understand that. But what you have to do is figure out why you must stop. Why must you stop? What is porn going to take away from you if you don't? What are you going to lose that you can't afford to lose? Is it your relationship with a partner? Is it fear of losing your kids? Is it fear of not being able to have a partner? Something to do with your health, mental, physical? Afraid of losing your job? That's my dog. Let me shut my dog out of here. I'll be right back. Okay, I hit this damn wire again. I gotta learn not to do that. So Kevin, is it possible to quit doing it yourself? Well, you can quit on your own, and you can just, I'm not going to use. I mean, you can do that, but why? Why not make it easier? And why not also talk to someone who knows how to do the deeper work to help you get rid of this? You know, you've got a root canal. You don't go to your, you don't just go to your garage and get some pliers and take care of it yourself. You know, you drop a dumbbell on your foot, break your foot. You do something about it. You go see somebody who can help. This is one, I know this is still a kind of a new condition in society, but this is one of those conditions that you need to go get help. It's like if your car is broken and you don't know how to fix it. You can't just open the hood and say, well, fixed. Yeah. So, hope that answers your question, Kevin. When does ED go away? It depends what you're doing to make it go away, and it depends what you did to get it. You know, porn-induced erectile dysfunction is real. I've seen it in a lot of my clients. The younger, healthier ones recover faster than the older, less physically fit ones. It depends how long you've been an addict. It also depends if you take not using and not touching seriously. If you're still looking at porn, if you're still masturbating and expecting your ED to go away, well, keep wishing, keep wishing. Brian says, I got PIED and stopped and it went away, but then I relapsed and couldn't stop. That's a common story, Brian. It's ruined big parts of my life, says Kevin, and I'm trying to quit, but I haven't talked to anyone about it. Well, maybe you're coming to that conclusion that you should. You're sitting in this room now talking, so that's a step forward. You know, I'll tell you, Kevin, that a lot of the clients I have will be like, I started listening to you 6 months ago, or I've watched some of your videos, or I got one of your books, or, you know, I've been following you on TikTok for a while. Because the first time they hear about this, they're not ready. They know they have a problem, but they're not ready. Watch these. I know that there are a lot of people, because they've told me, who have watched my lives and said, you know, I've watched you 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. And now I'm ready. I'll be here for you when you're ready, Kevin. I'll be here for you when you're ready. Dan says, I'm just going to moderate. And then Dan says, but this is not a canal. But this is not a canal? I guess you're technically right, Dan. This is not a canal. And thank you for following me. Thank you for following me as well. What does that mean, Dan? This is not a canal. It's too intriguing. He was talking about your example. Oh, okay. Oh, like the root canal. I see what you're saying. Yeah, but, you know, and you can make exceptions to every rule. That's the wonderful thing about semantics. That's the wonderful thing about being an addict. You can justify anything. You can minimize anything. You can explain anything away that you want to. You want to moderate this? If you have an addiction, you're not moderating it. What does that mean? I used to use 10 times a week. Now I use 5. You're still using 5 times a week. You know, and you can do whatever you want, Dan. It's your life. It's your life. You can do whatever you want. All I'm here to do is spread education, offer some help. But, yeah. I hope that you'll consider quitting versus just moderating. But at least you're getting the message here. Josh Paul, thank you for following me. Thank you for following me very much. Kevin says, I haven't talked to anybody about it because I haven't found a way to get help with it because I don't want others to know about it without telling anyone about it. Well, you're going to have to. You're going to have to, and that's okay. You know, somebody comes and talks to me. Like I said, I probably see 20 to 25 people a week. That includes probably 5 to 7 new people every week. Of those 5 to 7 people, about half become regular clients for a while. Several people will only come see me once. Either they only need one time, or they realize they're not ready, they're not going to make a commitment, whatever it is. You know, they don't continue to come to me. That's fine. Those people who do stick with me, they recognize I'm not going to make you feel bad about yourself. I'm not going to embarrass you. I'm not going to try to make you feel shame, because as somebody who has 24 years of pornography use behind him, you don't think I've seen some things I'd like to forget? You don't think, I'm embarrassed by, even if I only did it 5 times a week, 24 years? Gah. How many naked people have I seen in my life? It's embarrassing. It's taboo. But you need to get through that if you're going to get help. And I'll tell you, those 3-4 people last week who are not rebooking with me, I don't even remember their stories really, because I focus on the people who want the help. It's not like I'm sitting here waiting for Bob Smith of St. Louis, Missouri to book with me so I can have all of the information on him. Most people will tell me some really, really crazy things they're into, crazy things they've done, crazy things they've thought. And I don't think I've flinched yet. Kev says it was at a Holiday Inn. You must have written something before. Dan says, I used to go to the coconut massage place 6 times a week. Now it's only 2. It's going fantastic so far. Well, alrighty, cool. And that's how we get rid of him. If you talk about stupid shit, I'm going to block you. Hello from France. Hello, Val. For me, I have this addiction, and I do it a lot when I'm bored, and it can go to 2 to 6 times each day. Are you telling me there's nothing to do in France? You can't go for a walk? You can't go to the movies? You can't go to the market? You can't read a book? You can't call your mom on the phone. You can't write your grandma a letter. You can't hang out with friends. You can't go to the park and just hang out and people watch. There's 1,000 million billion things to do in this world, Val. You're not bored. You want to use. You don't want to admit it to yourself, but you want to use. That's why you tell yourself you're bored. Instead of saying you're bored, why don't you try telling yourself, I want to use porn, and see how that feels different? I'm bored softens it. I'm bored says, well, if there was something else to do, I would. I'm not a bad person, I'm using porn, and you're not. I'm not a lazy person for using porn, and you're not. I'm not a bad person, you're not. I'm not a pervert, you're not. But you're making excuses to feed your addiction. So don't be bored. You're going to get these urges. Make a list of 10 things to do so it doesn't happen tomorrow. Or fully admit to yourself that you don't want to quit, you're not ready to quit, you're not really bored, you want to use porn. The cuck chair is the lowest point in my life. I came across this live stream for a reason. Help. That's what we're here for, Kevin. It's what we're here for. If you need any one-on-one help, you've heard me talk about this with people, visit the front page of my profile. Up in the bio, there's a link, it says Calendly. Go ahead and click on that and you'll get all your information. Peter File, glad you're here. Welcome. Wait, I wanted to see what he was going to say about coconuts. Nah, the problem, Peter, is that we do not glorify stories of old here. It's kind of a 12-step rule. You don't talk about the good old days like they were the good old days. Sorry, Peter. Who did that? Thank you, Off. Thank you, Off. How does abstaining benefit your life? Well, abstaining from pornography, if you're an addict, is going to do huge things for you because you're chasing those chemicals. That's what your addiction is. Your addiction isn't to the naked people. Your addiction is to the way that looking at them makes you feel. But that could also be gambling. That could also be food. That could also be video games. That could also be lots of stuff. Because all of those addictions create the chemical reaction within the pleasure centers of your brain, giving you dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins. If you abstain, you're not creating those artificially. If you are an addict, you actually have a disease. Addiction is a disease because it changes the chemistry of your mind. And we know that people who repeatedly use pornography, who develop addictions, their minds change. You can see it demonstrably under those heat scopes and other things. How else does it help? Well, maybe you won't be ogling other people as much. Maybe you won't put a priority on nudity or sexuality. Maybe you will, look at whoever you're attracted to instead of looking at them as an object. Ultimately, it causes brain damage, dude. I guess does there need to be much more than that? It causes brain damage. Anyway, you are 100% correct. Your brain tries to justify any way to use it. The thing, even if I do it, it's always like that. Well, that's the story you're telling yourself, Val. It doesn't sound like you want to tell yourself another story. It sounds like you like using 2 to 6 times a day. Until you tell me you don't want to use it 2 to 6 times a day, it's hard for me to give too much advice, because it sounds like you're telling yourself the story you need to use. Another man, that's what happened at the Holiday Inn. It's okay, Kev. It's okay. If you've been with another man, if you've made porn with a man, if you had a JOI session with a man, we all have different things that float our boats. As long as you're not cheating anybody, as long as you're not doing anything morally wrong by your own standards, by your own code of conduct, and it's not illegal based on the laws of wherever you happen to be, human sexuality is human sexuality. You like what you like, you try what you try, you experiment. Not all experiments are successful. Don't beat yourself up too much. Chef Curry, I've been doing well. I'm successful. Don't beat yourself up too much. Chef Curry, I've been doing well. It's me, Patrick. Which Patrick? I know many Patricks. Is there some deeper level of it's me, Patrick, you can give me? You are right, says Nor. I don't know what I said, but I'm sure I was right. Again, thank you for... My situation is the bad old days. Please help. Need for other men. Well, Kev, might you be homosexual or bisexual? And your desire for men is just something you were born with? Just something that's inside of you? Sexual? and your desire for men is just something you were born with, just something that's inside of you. Jet Life Baby Facts, thank you. Sarah, justification equals addiction in a lot of cases. Hey, Sarah, good to see you. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure you've heard me say this before, Sarah, is that we as addicts learn to justify, learn to minimize, learn to rationalize, learn to manipulate, learn to lie, learn to cheat so well other people because we learn how to do it to ourselves first. We learn how to look at ourselves in the mirror and tell ourselves exactly the story we need to hear to be able to move on with the charade of our lives, to be able to put on that mask and do it another day, to just go forward and try to hide the fact we have a problem or keep denying to ourselves we have a problem. And that's the thing. We do all of these things because we do it to ourselves first. It's practice. I should have had a PhD in manipulation by the time I left high school because I was that good at doing it to people. That's an addict for you. An addict knows how to meet their needs. And an addict doesn't really have a code of conduct. I was meeting with a client the other day, and that client was telling me about, it was a betrayal trauma client, was telling me about how her partner, when things got bad and he couldn't defend his actions, he would become a crying baby. And I don't think that he really was super upset, aside from anything other than he had to put on this show and things just weren't status quo. But the thing is, when you're an addict, you don't have a lot of self-pride. You don't have a great self-image. You know you have a problem. And you also know and tell yourself the story that you need this stuff. 24 years as a porn addict, 22 years as an alcoholic. You don't think I got really good at telling myself I needed those things or I'd die? I could convince you of anything because I could convince me of anything, and I was a huge skeptic. Kevin says, I think I'll probably just leave this on and listen to you. It seems to help. Great. I'm glad. What else are you doing? Hey, Oth, keeping you busy today, huh? The numbers are starting to pick back up. It's clear that our busy time is in the winter, Oth, because the numbers are starting to pick up again. I've seen happen. He's anything to make it not seem so bad. Absolutely. And when it's really bad, when he sees the alarms, when he sees, oh shit, I have to go into my bag of tricks, I'm going to throw myself on the floor and I'm going to start crying. I remember, this is a story, I've never told this story on here before, and I'm not proud of it, but there was a time where it was probably just before it got really bad. I went out with some of my work colleagues, and we had one of those nights where I ran a magazine that covered arts, entertainment, dining, nightlife, all that stuff. We went to a networking event of business leaders, and then we went to an art gallery opening, and then there was a Mexican restaurant that was opening. And I told my wife I would be home at like 10 o'clock. Well, we didn't even get to the Mexican place till 10. I was probably already legally drunk, and I just started doing tons of, tequila shots. And I got to the point where even I recognized I couldn't drive, which was rare, but I recognized I couldn't drive. So a friend of mine brought me home. I came home, got in the house like 3 hours later. Kevin, thank you for the gift, my friend. First gift, that means a lot. Thank you. Appreciate that. and you're the number 6 member of the team. I think that means that you actually can have some pictures to put up now. And I'm still working on that. Wow, Jet will not be denied. He's coming back with six roses. Thank you, my friends. I appreciate this. Anyway, so I called my wife at like 10. I said, hey, it's, we're just getting to the last place. I'll be home like 10:30. She said, don't drink. I won't. I drank crazy. Somebody brought me home. I try to sneak into the house as quiet as I can at 1 a.m. She's up, and I can tell this one is major. The kids have been sick. She's been home dealing with them, with our pets, trying to deal with the house. Will I go play Mr., high roller, mover and shaker? Everybody in the community knows me. And I lied about when I'd be home, and I lied about how much I drank, and I told her I'd have to get a ride to go get my car. And she was so mad, I just started crying. And I threw myself on the couch, and I got myself to a place where I was absolutely sobbing. But I remember I heard myself sobbing. I could feel it. I mean, it was from a deep place. I probably was very good for me in some ways. But I remember thinking to myself, thank you for the corn, Kevin. I remember thinking to myself, I think she's buying this. I think I'm not going to get in trouble. I think that if I can play pathetic guy, I will become the victim here. I will become the one to be pitied. All you have to do is become more over the top than the other one. And I'm going to guess that's what happened to you, Sarah, is you probably start to bring this up. Maybe it escalates a little. So he's got to escalate on top. And people just have to, it's jockeying for positions of power. Or that's what the addict thinks. Because the addict, again, feels like they don't have control. Feels like they don't have power. When I'm laying on the couch sobbing about how I feel like my life is out of control and I have too much on my plate and I know I'm not a good husband or not a good father, all valid things. These are all valid things. That's what makes this sound so good when I'm doing it. All of these, valid reasons that I could be freaking out. In my mind, I'm saying, okay, whatever she was going to do to me, she must be thinking I'm beating myself up. So she's not going to do it now. I'm going to be okay. I don't have to worry because I put on this show. Now, what kind of a self-respecting person would use, a sense of hopelessness, which is what I conveyed. Who would use a sense of hopelessness? Sarah, thank you for the corn. We got all kinds of people giving gifts tonight. Thank you so much. Appreciate these gifts. I really do. This helps the algorithm too. This absolutely helps the algorithm. So thank you. I appreciate so many of you doing this. It does absolutely help. But anyway, to finish my story, addicts are not the most prideful people. They'll put on a show to get what they want. They'll put on a show to get what they need. And if it's a simple conversation, gaslighting. And if you have any questions, I've been reading what you guys have been saying, so I'm not missing this. I'll get back to you, Kevin, about your ADHD comment. Promise I will. Wow, Carol, spreading out the corn. Thank you, my friend. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I got to be honest in that I don't always, and I joined my team. You've joined too. Yay. I don't trust addicts as much as a lot of people do. As Kevin, thank you for the corns. As much as people a lot of people who work with them. And one of the reasons was because I was one. I can see through their shit. It's like a magician trying to show me a trick. Dude, I know how the trick is done. I used to be a master magician myself. that was a long story, but hey, none of you have heard that story before, which must be nice if you're here a bunch. I think having ADHD has made it worse. Yeah. For me to get help? No, because I can't push myself to get help. Okay, so it's not the help spot. It's, you know what? I think that's an excuse, Kevin. Do you, go to the bathroom when you have to? Do you get to your job or get to school when you have to? If you are bleeding, would you go to a hospital? ADHD, I'm sure, is distracting. I'm sure it puts your mind 101 other places. You do need extra tools. You do need extra techniques than somebody trying to quit who doesn't have ADHD. But you can't use it as a shield to not get help. There are plenty of people with ADHD who are absolute recovered. Seeing all of these gifts is awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Carol got the #1 gifter badge. Yay, Carol. Thank you for becoming the 7th member of the team, Sarah. I really am going to put this team concept together at some point soon and give you more than just little badges. It's too bad Angel isn't here. He loves to use those little extra stickers of my pets and stuff that you can get. Get enough of you, we can do some subscriber-only lives. Anyway, it's been a hell of a long time since I've introduced myself. There are new names here, so let me do this. If you've heard this before, sing along. My name is Josh. I was a porn addict 22 years. I'm sorry, I was a porn addict 24 years. I was an alcoholic 22 years. I have been clean and sober now for 10 and a half years, relapse-free the entire time. I started out in this industry as an author and a public speaker. I wrote 4 books, gave lots of speeches, given over 300, 400 media interviews in the world, did a TED Talk. But about 4.5 years ago, I became certified as a pornography addiction coach, as a therapeutic disclosure specialist, and as a betrayal trauma coach. If you have any issues as an addict, as the partner of the addict, or you need help as a couple, I am qualified to do this. If you want to make a private session with me, visit the front page of my profile and you will see a link that says Calendly. That'll give you all the information. Thank you for being here. Feel free to put any questions into the comments that you'd like. Feel free to share any of your stories that you'd like. Happy, sad, success, failure. This is a safe place. This is a safe place. Sarah, I'm not missing all that corn you're giving me. Thank you very much. I'm noticing it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. A need and a want are 2 different things. No one needs to get off. No, absolutely. Do you know when you need to get off? You need to get off as a guy if you want to fertilize an egg. And for the chance of fertilizing an egg that grows inside of a woman, fertilize an egg. And for the chance of fertilizing an egg that grows inside of a woman, and, there's the baby. That's why you need to get off. Maybe if you're testing, if your sperm is healthy, you need to get off. But there really is no other time that yes, you can have sex with your partner all day long, but you don't need to get yourself off. You don't ever need to get yourself off unless you're giving a sample. And like you said, Sarah, especially at the expense of others. Austin Paul has 17 days clean. Congratulations, my friend. That is awesome. 2.5 weeks. I like when you show up every few days and let us know how you're doing. That's awesome, my friend. So No Nut November's working for you. It's time to start thinking. You've got 2 more weeks left in November. What does the first week of December look like to you, Austin? What does the first week of December look like for you? And you notice, I just want to point this out, we are now almost 3 weeks into November, 2.5 weeks. And you don't hear people talking about No Nut November nearly as much because almost all of them failed 4th or 5th day and basically forgot about it. Where would one buy one of your books? You can go to my website, which is thatcorncoach.com. Nice and simple, thatcorncoach.com, and follow the link. It's either under books or under resources. You're smart enough, you can figure it out. Or you can just go type my name into Amazon, Josh O'Shea, Shea. It'll be up there as well. But I say go through my website because you'll find other stuff that's cool too. Sarah Santa Corn. Iceberg Slim. I love you, Coach. Thank you. You're welcome. It's cool too. Sarah Santa Corn. Iceberg Slim. I love you, Coach. Thank you. You're welcome, Iceberg Slim. 17 days clean. Wow, we're going to have to get you and Austin Paul in some kind of contest here. I'm just kidding. I don't think that's something to do. Sarah, I used to have a resource list on here, and that caused a lot of problems on the back end for me because I would get bombed with everybody and their sister wanting me to run their link, wanting me to put up a Joseph. Thank you for the rose. Thank you for the rose, my friend. I will always accept flowers from men, especially handsome men like you. Then I did have one other site. I got their permission to put up some resources, and then they changed company, and then they threatened me because I had their resources on my site. It was a pain in the ass. And I can give anybody resources they want, but if you write to me for resources, you can Google resources just as easily. I'd love to pretend that I have something special. And I think I do connect with people in a special way. I think that there are some of my long-term clients I've had who, we just clicked. We just clicked and it works. And that's, I'll give them all the resources in the world. I'll give anybody who, drops me a line resources. But ultimately, you can get all of this for free out there. There's nothing you can't get for free out there. It's a matter of how it's presented to you, how it's clicking with you, how it's resonating with you one-on-one. That's why. So, hey, Carol, thank you for more corn. My goodness, look at all the corn I'm getting today. Yay. Yeah, so ultimately, I had a resource list on here, and it was so much more work than it was actually worth. Do you have a book like the 12 Steps book? Like the green book that like SAA uses? I don't have a book like that. One of the things that I do have a book out there for porn addicts that's called I'm Reading This Book About Porn Addiction for a Friend. And looking around my room here, I don't think I have a copy of it. I should really grab some so I can show them when I'm doing this. So the one for addicts is called I'm reading this book about porn addiction for a friend. The one for people with betrayal trauma is called He's a Porn Addict Now What? My first book is not in print anymore, and my other book was a journalistic look at what happened in the early days of the pandemic with online pornography and how that exploded the first 3-4 months. That just is kind of a throwback. It's kind of a throwback to my journalistic roots of being a newspaper/magazine journalist for so many years. And then there are plenty of other great books out there. Out of the Shadows by Patrick Carnes, Your Brain on Porn by Gary Wilson, Going Deeper by Eddie Caparucci. There are just so many good books out there. Gin Carroll, thank you for the corn. Thank you for the corn. After every one of these lives that I do, I always go and look at the analytics afterwards. And one of the things I see is how many coins are given to me or how many gifts are given to me. And this is going to be a nice one to see. So I appreciate that very much. Hold on a sec. And boom. And boom. Okay. There, you don't have to worry, Governor. For the science. Yeah, the science, I mean, you got to know the science of this stuff, I feel. Because the science is not faith. The science is not urge. The science is not interpretation. The science is the science. It's important to know what the best provable set of facts we have are. And Governor, yeah, I'm sorry I didn't see that faster. I'm going to guess that Oth is not here at the moment. She would have got rid of that right away. We do not talk about our favorite porn stars or our favorite movies. Actually, one of the, I think the third most popular video I've ever done is one where I say, I'll tell you my 5 favorite porn movies of all time. And boom. Then I say, nope, that's a red flag. So completely understand that, Governor. Understand that it gives you urges. And I'm glad you're doing okay. You've seen that. A lot of people have seen that vid. It's crazy. It's crazy how I have about 45 million total views in my life on TikTok. And my top 4 videos are half of them. And like the other 800 videos are the other half. Corn and snow really messes brain function up. Snow. What are we saying snow is these days? What does the snow icon mean? That's the first time I've seen somebody use it. Coke. Okay. That's sort of what I thought. Yeah, they both mess up. And if you look at the comparison of the addicted brains of both of those kinds of addicts, you'll see they look very similar. Giving up pornography is like giving up a true drug addiction. It's tough. It's not like not seeing your favorite TV show anymore. It's giving up this thing that your body believes it needs to function. It's tough. I don't believe it can give you ADHD, P fighting. I don't believe it can give you ADHD, but I could be wrong. I've just never come across that in I know with porn addiction, I've never come across anything saying you develop a mental health condition because of the porn. It's often more believed that the mental health condition leads to the addiction. How do I never relapse again? Any tips and strategies to keep going sober of corn and PMO? See the red flags early. How do you look at those days when you failed? When did you know? Did you know, you've gone a month and then you fail? Did you know you were going to fail that morning? Did you know you were going to fail the several days in advance leading up? Did something happen that day? The best thing you can do to not relapse is by examining any relapses you've had and figuring out a strategy to avoid that in the next time those circumstances present themselves. Your boss yells at you at work and that triggers you to want to use. Well, the next time the boss yells at you, you're going to be triggered to use. So maybe if he yells at you, instead of going straight home, you go to the grocery store, you go see a movie, you do something else. You have to, it's what I like to call the prelapse autopsy. Because you get to a point when you're relapsing that there's no turning around. It's like somebody who is a drinker. You have 2 beers, most people can still make good decisions. But that's the first 2 beers into a bender. That's the first 2 beers into being drunk off your butt. You can stop there. Most people do. You keep going, well, you're going to lose control. You're going to be drunk. You're not going to be able to stop. So you have to be able to see the red flags before you get to the point of no return. What were the symptoms? You have to be able to see the red flags before you get to the point of no return. What were the symptoms of the relapse? What was happening prior to the relapse? So identify it for next time. That's the biggest thing you need to recognize. The MRIs are pretty much the same. MRIs, that's what I keep trying to say. Yeah, somebody who, and I hope I don't get banned for saying coke, but somebody who is into coke, their diseased brain looks remarkably like somebody who is into pornography. So when people are like, just put that down. Well, would they say that to somebody who had an addiction to coke? Because stopping is largely the same, because it's done the same damage to your brain. MRIs, yes. Thank you for reminding me of that, Sarah. It's masked by addiction, and then the mental health condition is recognized. You've got this. You could be coaching yourself soon. Physical activity, feed like any other dopamine fix. Yeah, absolutely. Physical activity is going to be one of the big steps to getting better. Now, a lot of people don't like physical activity. I hate the gym. I prefer to, walk in my neighborhood, or I prefer to actually have a reason to be walking. Send me to Vegas, I'll do 25,000 steps in a day. But around here, I have to force myself to get 5,000. But physical activity is proven to be just about the best way. Iceberg Slim says, I fail when I'm under massive stress. Stress is my cue. So why are you not handling stress the right way? What are other things you can do? What if you ate better? What if you got more sleep? What is causing the stress? How do you reduce the stress? How do you change your mindset at all about the stress? Great job. I've been live for 90 minutes. Yeah, I was going to say that I have been doing this way too long. Thank you for sharing the live, Carol. Thank you. I hope you're having a good football Sunday. Have you thought about writing the word corn differently on your vids? Think you'd get more views? Nah, I've tried. You can actually go through my vids, and I've tried. It's funny because if you look at, go to the top and see the ones that have the millions, it doesn't really matter. I don't spell it PORN with all letters. The O is usually a number 0. I'll do 2 R's or 2 N's, or I'll put the corn icon. But I've tried it a million different ways, and the popular videos get through, the unpopular videos don't. There is no rhyme or reason. That I wish I could, I think that there are people who spend their lives trying to figure out this algorithm. And it's funny because I will sometimes repost a video, and I'll repost a video that wasn't popular, got 500 views, and suddenly it gets 50,000. Or I'll repost something that got 50,000, hoping it'll get 100,000 next time, and it gets 500. The rhyme or reason to this is crap. I wish it was different. Because after the TikTok update, they may be hiding your vids because they detected the word sounds. Yeah. Honestly, I'm not that worried, because every time a video of mine gets banned, every time I get briefly banned because of a live, and I've been banned probably a dozen times, I appeal, and 95% of the time, I win my appeal. I don't know if I had a video probably about 2 weeks old now. Of just makes me laugh. Charles Manson saying, "Yeah, I watched pornography my whole life." Didn't do anything to me. It got flagged for violent language. Now, I think it just got flagged because it's Charles Manson. Or maybe I put the words Charles Manson. But it was not, I got a warning, it's not eligible for the FYP because of, harmful language. I appealed, and within 5 minutes, it's back up. And you know what? It has more to do with how much money I generate for TikTok. Last year, when I had a couple series on here and I was selling them and I was generating money for TikTok, I had 3-4 times the viewers that I do now. I've thought about trying to figure something else out to do that. I'm working on another book. Maybe I'll launch it through TikTok. And if TikTok makes a few bucks, I'll get more viewers again. But it's about money. It's not about the videos. Thank you for your work and bringing this out. Thank you, Just Fred. I appreciate it. I appreciate that very much. Carol says, football Sunday is meh. I'm sorry. I didn't even watch it. Didn't watch any of it this week. I got my sports fix Friday night with the Tyson-Paul fight, which sucked. Paul went easy on the old guy. Paul could have beat him. I think Paul could have knocked him out in round 3. And I think Paul was just giving a nod to his... I don't want to say Paul's a nice guy because I don't know that he is, but I think he was just being nice to his elder because he could have beat the shit out of him those last few rounds, and he didn't. But the women's boxing match before that was one of the best boxing matches I've ever seen. That was one of the best fights I've ever seen. If you want to see an intense group of fights, YouTube Mickey Ward versus Arturo Gatti. They had a trilogy on HBO when I was in my teens that is still the gold standard for watching two people beat the piss out of each other, but do it in such a tactical, wonderful way that it's almost artistry, like I thought the fight the other night was. Those girls were insane. Taylor and Serrano, yeah, girls were insane. I mean, freaking Serrano's like entire eyebrow and eyelid was falling off, and she kept going, and she should have won. I mean, she should have won. Of course, it was a money-grabbing ploy, you know. I don't know if it's a ploy. It seems pretty... Ploy kind of sounds like it's a scheme when... Seems pretty upfront with how goofy and what a spectacle it was. But I'm just glad that we got... Taylor and Serrano before the main event, because I think that Taylor Serrano, considering how many tens of millions of people were watching and considering how much boxing has been on life support for probably the last 20 years, Taylor and Serrano may ultimately have more to do with a rebirth of interest in boxing than Paul and Tyson ever did, at least in my opinion. But yeah, my God, could those girls throw hands? That they were just amazing. That was, I would not want to cross either one of those women. They are just top-notch athletes. Taylor and Serrano, yeah, they were awesome, Carol, absolutely. I think Tyson had more in him too. I don't know, man. His legs looked bad. He was Tyson from the waist up, but he looked pretty bad. And he looked gassed pretty early to me. I just think that I think Paul could have beaten him from the third round onward. He could have beaten him anytime he wanted. At least that's my favorite fighter. Good question. I really liked Manny Pacquiao growing up. He was on HBO a lot. I watched most of the fights I've seen were growing up watching HBO boxing. And Manny Pacquiao came of age then. Again, Arturo Gatti was an awesome, awesome fighter. I actually saw Floyd Mayweather in Atlanta in 1996 at the Olympics. I went down to Atlanta and watched the Olympics in 96. And I saw Mayweather fight for the U.S. team, although I'm not a huge fan of the whole bling-bling thing he brings to the game. I always liked Vladimir Klitschko. I did like watching Mike Tyson. It was always a spectacle. Watching Mike Tyson is like watching Brock Lesnar as a wrestler. You know, it just brings something different to it. Thank you for sharing the live, Sandra. Hopefully all the boxing fans will like this. I don't like violence at all, and it makes me nauseous, but I watch those fights. Yeah, my wife and I actually had a conversation about that not too long ago. She said, I like to watch people get hurt. And it's like, no, I don't watch a lot of UFC. I can appreciate it. I grew up watching boxing with my dad, but I don't, honestly, I would rather watch two middleweights or two lightweights have a great bout for 10 rounds than watch two heavyweights for a round and a half just lumbering around. I like the artistry of it. I like the skill of it. It's too bad people are getting beaten up, but I think it's a great endurance test. It's a great hand-eye coordination test. It's a great strength test. When you think of all the sports out there, all the different things, aside from like Greco-Roman wrestling, this is man battling with another man or woman battling with another woman in one of its purest senses. One of its purest senses. Yeah, here's a funny story. I was watching the night that Mike Tyson lost to James Buster Douglas. And I remember because they were in Tokyo for that fight. I believe it was Tokyo. My mom, and so it was on, it didn't start till like 10 or 11 on HBO that Saturday night because of the time difference. Usually it starts at 8, didn't start till 10 or 11. So I was up late anyway, watching it with my dad. I think it was 1990, so I think I was 13, 14, right around there. Something happened to my mom and her finger started swelling, and it was because of her wedding ring. And she couldn't get her wedding ring off, and her finger kept swelling. And, she was watching it for a few hours. And finally, around like the 6th round of the Buster Douglas Tyson fight, my mom comes out of the bedroom where she was watching her shows and says, I think I need to go to the emergency room. And my dad and I were recognizing, oh my God, Mike Tyson's getting his ass kicked. This guy might beat Buster Douglas, whoever the hell he is, he might beat Mike Tyson. This is freaking historic what we're watching. And my mom was like, will you take me to the hospital to my dad? And he was, can we wait a few more minutes? She's like, no, it's really bad. I really need to get this cut off me. I can't see, I have a wedding ring, so I can do a visual aid. And it was very funny because I can now, let me see, if this was 30 years ago, my dad was even younger than I am right now. And I can tell you, if I knew history was going on TV, it would be like asking to go somewhere during the 7th game of the World Series or during overtime of the Super Bowl. That's just not a time you really want to step away from the TV. And my mom ended up saying, watch your show. And she was mad at him and she took off. And I remember thinking, I don't know if I would have gone either. But luckily I didn't have to think about that. But yeah, my memory of James Buster Douglas beating Mike Tyson is that was the night where my mom needed to go to the emergency room and get her wedding ring cut off because her finger was swelling, and my dad wanted her to put it off so he could watch the historic boxing match happening. So on that note, I've been here almost 2 hours. I've told you a lot of stories I've never told before. I appreciate those of you being kind enough to stay and listen to them, even if they aren't related to pornography. It's nice to just share parts of my life. I want to thank all of you who have followed me, who gave so many likes. Special thanks to those of you who have given me gifts. Just huge amount of gifts today. Really appreciate that. If I can make $1.50 off of these lives per live at the end of the year, that's $500. It helps me keep going. Unfortunately, I make far less money doing this than I did in my professional life before, but getting those gifts certainly does help a little bit. Anything helps in this economy. And be prepared for your prices to go up real soon. Anyway, this was great seeing you. I have a few sessions tomorrow, so I don't know if I'll do this during the day or I'll do it at night. I will be back definitely. If you're not following me, follow me so you'll get those cues. If you want to have a private session with me, to visit either my website, thatcorncoach.com, follow that, or just go to the front page of my profile and click on the Calendly link. I'm not a difficult guy to get in touch with if you have any questions. I don't give out free coaching, but I don't mind answering a question here and there. All right. Have yourself a wonderful start to your work week or school week. We'll see you next time.